Good afternoon, everybody. It's an absolute pleasure to be here alongside our key partners, the Arts Council, CC Skills and Creative Skill Set. I was just reflecting back on the words we've already heard this afternoon, and I'm reflecting back to the beginning of when the National Apprenticeship Service came into being in April 2009. And I'm somebody, and some people may find this hard to believe, that I've been working in and around apprenticeships since the mid-90s. And I don't think I would have ever been in the position of speaking to a room full of so many interested, and maybe stepping too far in terms of your expectations, but let me run with this. In terms of this afternoon, so many people with an interest and willingness to understand how an apprenticeship can both support your organisation, your business, and indeed how it can help a young person in terms of 16 to 24, but and indeed older, start their career in the creative sector. I think back in 2009, one of my ambitions when we were setting out our vision around the apprenticeship service, that we would see apprenticeships across the whole breadth of the economy, particularly in London, but across the whole country, in sectors which had never embraced the programme before. And I think if we'd sought and booked out this room today and invited people to come and hear about how apprenticeships could support their business, I think we'd have done really well in filling the front row. So it's fantastic to see that intrigue and interest here this afternoon. And I think the challenge for us with our partners is to really convert that and maximise the opportunity that collectively we can bring to young people within the arts sector. As I said, the National Apprenticeship Service was created under the previous government in response to a national review around apprenticeships called World Class Apprenticeships, which saw the need to establish a dedicated service within England to support employers through the journey of understanding how an apprenticeship can support their business, to get that programme into place. And importantly, and alongside that, a key role for us has been enabling and supporting individuals, young people, young adults, to find out about apprenticeships, to become the source and the place to go to apply for vacancies as they come up over the course of time. What I want to do in the few minutes that I have with you this afternoon is to tell you a bit more about that journey, a bit more about our role and responsibility and our priorities. Begin to share with you some of these stories around how the sector is engaging already, but actually how we can see that growth can be accelerated even further with the partnership that is emerging through the work this afternoon. And lastly, leave you with some further information about how that appetite can be satisfied. As I said, our role as an organisation is around supporting employers like yourself from that initial interest all the way through to establishing their programme. Our role is also to support young people through that journey. We provide an impartial service to both employers and individuals through that journey. And nationally, we're in a position now where across sector we have what we call over 200 frameworks supporting almost 2,000 different job roles. So the challenge that we always task back to a business is to say, we are certain that we can provide a framework, an existing framework, which will support a job role within your business through an apprenticeship. As I said, our ambition is to continue to grow the programme, and the programme has grown from strength to strength since our inception in 2009. So that last year, in the academic year 2011-12, we saw over 500,000 people of all ages start an apprenticeship. That's double what it was 2 years prior to that. And not only are we simply increasing the numbers within those sectors which have traditionally supported the apprenticeship programme, we're seeing real interest from sectors of the economy who've never embraced an apprenticeship before. So, an example in London, in terms of the financial and business services, all the major banks, retail banks, and indeed in some of the moving in towards the investment banks, are changing and adapting the way they're recruiting and developing new talent into their business in recognition of a number of changes in the external environment. That being in terms of the way the changes within the higher education field, but importantly, recognising the change in terms of the customer base in which they are supporting and providing services to, and recognising that the current practices they've had around recruitment haven't supported and reflected back to their customers the right type of individuals. We're hoping, and we're certain with the support and working with partners here today, that that growth can be shared across to the creative sector. We're seeing improvements in quality within the apprenticeship programme. Back in 2001-2, only a quarter of people who were undertaking their apprenticeship completed their full training programme. That is flipped completely on its head now, where over 3/4 of people who completed their apprenticeship in 2010-11 successfully attained the full framework. And of those who are completing, over 85% are remaining in employment with the same employer or are employed within the same sector. So it's not just a training route. It is real employment with real prospects for progression and career development. We are investing significant amounts of money in the development of new frameworks at higher levels, at levels 4, 5 and 6, and indeed currently consulting around opportunities for frameworks at level 7. That means in the course of time, young people will be able to attain the same level of qualification with real work experience within the workplace through an apprenticeship, providing real alternatives to the development of higher level skills through different routes to perhaps the traditional route through university education. And through that £25 million of development fund that we provided to businesses, professional bodies in the last year, we're anticipating that that will create over 20,000 higher level apprenticeships up until 2015. That opportunity through higher level is really providing us with the opportunity to broaden the range and types of young people who've traditionally entered apprenticeships and indeed the type of organisations that we've supported. But let's turn to some of the reasons why employers are investing and continuing to invest in the apprenticeship programme. From our own research conducted, 83% of businesses who employ apprentices rely on an apprenticeship programme to develop their skilled workforce. 80% believe apprenticeships reduce staff turnover. 77% believe apprenticeships make them more competitive. Over 3/4 say apprenticeships improve productivity, and almost 60% say a high proportion of those apprentices were progressing to management positions. And critically, 53% believe apprentices reduce the recruitment costs of their business. From a recent survey conducted by the British Chamber of Commerce, 82% of businesses that have taken on an apprentice have done so to increase the skills capacity within their own organisation. So from businesses' own feedback to us and witnessed by the growth and the continued growth and the number of opportunities that we have within our own apprenticeship vacancy website, we're currently running at around 8,000 vacancies live at any one point. We can see there's real appetite from businesses across the economic sector to continue to invest in the programme. It's not only, as I said, developing and delivering real benefit to business. The feedback from research is that an apprenticeship is providing real economic return to young people. As I mentioned, the progression and retainment rate within the workplace. But in terms of an economic benefit to people, those who complete an apprenticeship, an advanced apprenticeship at level 3, will earn over £105,000 more than if they completed an alternative level 3 qualification. And that's up from a £75,000 lifetime earnings at intermediate level 2 apprenticeship. And we're anticipating, based on that economic return, that the investment we're putting in at the higher level will also provide increasing returns to those young people as they progress through their career. The sector itself, the creative sector, has begun to embrace apprentices, as we heard the numbers from Catherine earlier. When I look back over the last couple of years in terms of the frameworks that Creative Skills have been responsible for developing, we've seen a 600% increase in the number of people undertaking those frameworks. And this afternoon is going to provide a real opportunity to hear the case studies from those employers and individuals who've been undertaking those apprenticeships. But to give you a sense of the range of employers across the country and within London who've been embracing the programme, Birmingham Hippodrome, the Albany, Waterman's, the Design Museum, Whitechapel Gallery, Roundhouse, Mav Music, Opera North, The Junction, White Light, Royal National Theatre, Royal Opera House, and many, many more. We really encourage you to consider how an apprenticeship could support your organisation develop its future talent through the apprenticeship programme. We recognise that the times are tough economically, and that for many small businesses who've never embraced the programme, it can be a challenge, one, to be where to start, but also the real challenge on an economic basis, which is why this partnership this afternoon is so important. In addition to the contribution that we make in terms of the training cost, as part of the government's youth contract, there is a specific grant available to support businesses who've never taken on an apprenticeship, or at least within the last year. And those employers and organisations with up to 1,000 employees are eligible for a grant in recognition that for those who are first time engaging, there will be new costs in order to overcome. And that grant of £1,500 per apprentice is yours to use as you see fit. So that can be used towards initial contribution towards their wages, or indeed to travel costs or equipment, how you see fit. That is in your hands in terms of directing how that money is used. And for any employer under 1,000, as I said, who hasn't taken an apprentice in the last year, they're eligible to up to 10 grants per organisation. The age grant is going from strength to strength to the point where we've seen it guaranteed for a following year up until March 2014. So I really encourage you this afternoon to consider how an apprenticeship can support your organisation, your business, grow and develop the talent of the future for you. If you'd like any further information within the creative sector, but also across any other job role that's outside of that footprint, please refer to our website. There's a wealth of talent, of information available on there, as well as our own service as well. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak to you this afternoon. I really encourage you to make the most of the opportunity to ask questions of those who are delivering inputs on case studies this afternoon. And I hope when I come back next year or the year after, many, many more organisations like yours will be up on this stage sharing their experience. Thank you very much.